when the government does not have enough revenue to support subsidies, the burden to pay for it will be sustained by the next generations, your children and grandchildren. These words were spoken by Dr. Ismail, a researcher from University Malaya during a national discussion on subsidy reform. It is an insightful quote because it helps us to see the hidden costs of the current petrol subsidy system and the opportunities that a reform can bring. Good morning, my name is Jun Shen. Today, I am here to make the case that the Malaysian government should reduce petrol subsidy to fund sustainable energy. Malaysia is a country that heavily relies on fossil fuels for power. Therefore, a global oil crisis would drive petrol prices sharply higher, leading to rising living costs including bus fare, e-link rides, food delivery, and even your electricity bills. Beyond that, greater petrol consumption leads to higher vehicle emissions and increased pollution, which are harmful to our health, especially for those living in urban cities like Kuala Lumpur. I myself have spent considerable time researching the limitations of the current petrol subsidy system and exploring possible solutions to these problems. By studying reports from the World Bank and the International Energy Agency, I am honored to stand here today and speak to you with honesty and evidence. Therefore, today's conversation is not just about ideas, it is about creating a more sustainable and secure future for our country and ourselves. The Malaysian government should gradually reduce petrol subsidies to fund sustainable energy, because continuing the current petrol subsidy harms both our country and our people, while redirecting those funds towards sustainable energy would provide long-term benefits to the nation and the community. Today, we are going to explore three things: the risk of our current petrol subsidy system, the reform, and the reward we can gain from this reform. First, let us explore why our current petrol subsidy system is a problem that cannot be ignored. Malaysia's current petrol subsidy system creates three serious problems. First, it weakens the national energy security. An article from The Star discussing the effects of the Hormuz blockade on Malaysia's oil supply highlighted Malaysians' over-reliance on fossil fuel, making the nation vulnerable to global crises such as geopolitical conflicts and oil supply disruption. On top of that, the current subsidy system drains billions of ringgit that could otherwise be spent in healthcare, infrastructure, or education. Second, the current policy harms the environment. According to the Fossil Fuel Emissions Outlook report from the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air in 2025, petrol use worsens air pollution and climate change, affecting public health and threatening Malaysia's food security through extreme weather events such as drought and flood. Based on the report, an estimated 32,000 deaths occur annually in Malaysia due to ambient air pollution, highlighting the severe health hazards posed by burning fossil fuels. Third, continued petrol subsidies cause Malaysia to miss major economic opportunities. Compared to neighboring countries such as Vietnam and Indonesia, which have already begun their energy transition, Malaysia risks falling behind in the global green economy. As a result, we will lose international investment opportunities and future job creation. Now that we have addressed the problems of the current petrol subsidy system, let us examine the solution. The Malaysian government should gradually reduce using a phased reduction of petrol subsidies by 4% per year over 5 years, while reinvesting the saving into sustainable energy through existing governmental frameworks, and ensuring the entire process remains transparent to the public. First, Why should the government implement a gradual reduction in subsidies? According to the International Monetary Fund Country Report in 2023, an automatic fuel price adjustment mechanism with price smoothing helps avoid economic shock and severe unrest. Second, according to Budget 2025, the Malaysian government has already tripled the National Energy Transition Facility Fund to 300 million ringgit, proving that the framework needed to receive reinvestment is already in place. Third, transparency is the key to successful implementation. According to case studies from Indonesia and Nigeria, a transparent approach with clear communications to citizens leads to the least social resistance. In contrast, sudden subsidy removal can trigger public backlash, such as Indonesia's sudden subsidy removal in 2022, which sparked protests and riots. Now, this reform will bring three important benefits to Malaysia. First, reducing dependency on imported fossil fuels protects Malaysia from global oil price shocks and geopolitical conflicts, giving the country greater control over its energy security. Recent oil shocks with prices exceeding $100 per barrel due to the US-Iran tensions highlight Malaysia's vulnerability as a net importer. Second, transitioning to sustainable energy contributes to better public health and stronger food security. A report from the Environmental Protection Agency showed that Singapore managed to improve air quality significantly, including reductions in PM 2.5 level and sulfur dioxide emissions over several years through cleaner energies initiative and stricter environmental policies. This demonstrates how sustainable energy policies can improve public health outcomes. Third, this transition creates economic opportunities. Transitioning to sustainable energy is expected to attract approximately 1.2 to 1.3 trillion ringgit Malaysia in green investment by 2050 and create around 310,000 jobs, positioning Malaysia competitively in the global green economy. To summarize, we have learned about the problems created by the current petrol subsidy system. A solution involving gradual subsidy reduction and the benefits Malaysia can gain by implementing this reform. Reducing petrol subsidies is not just an economic policy, it is an investment in our energy security, our environment, and our children's future. Every liter of subsidized fuel we burn today steals from the lungs of a child in Malaysia and from the opportunities of a graduate seeking green jobs tomorrow. So let us not burden our sons and daughters with debt and dirty air. Let us phase out petrol subsidies with courage and reinvest every ringgit into sustainable energy. Let us make our reform a legacy, not a regret.